Hi friends, good morning. Today we are going to talk about how to start pumpkin seeds in the hot heat of the summer. So here where I am, it is the middle of July, it's about 7 a.m. and it's already in the mid 80s and it's just going to keep getting hotter. So Texas looks like on paper like it has a really long growing season from about March to November, but in reality we actually have two very short growing seasons separated by about 6 to 8 weeks of incredibly intense heat. So for the most part we like to try to start our fall crops in the fall after about mid-September when it gets a little bit more tolerable outside, but we don't have that option when it comes to longer growing season crops such as pumpkins, especially if we want to try to harvest our pumpkins around Halloween, which we certainly do around here. And so it is challenging, but it is absolutely doable to start your pumpkins in July so that they're ready for Halloween. There's just 3 things you need to be aware of, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the 3 things are your seed selection, your location, and your care of the plant. So starting with seed selection, it is best to pick shorter season pumpkin types. And so you're looking at ones that are closer to 85 to maybe 95 days versus those pumpkins that are 110, 120 day long life cycle until you can harvest. And a general rule of thumb is you want to go for those smaller type pumpkins. So your pie pumpkins, your like Jack B. Little, the small ones you see at the grocery store around Halloween and Thanksgiving time, these are really good. Just anything that has a shorter growing cycle so that you have a little bit less of the heat to contend with and you can kind of push off starting them a little bit later. Another thing you want to be aware of is the variety of pumpkin you've chosen. So I always recommend going with an heirloom variety so you know the history on it and you know where in fact that pumpkin grows well. So you might find, for an example, an amazing looking pumpkin that you would love to have, but it is indigenous to Nova Scotia, so it's probably not going to do well here in Texas. But if you can find some drought tolerant and heat hardy varieties, then you will be much more set up for success. So these are some Seminole squash pumpkins. They kind of look like gourds. They're indigenous to the South, which means that they're more able to recover from the hot heat of the day. And I'll water them and take great care of them at night so they can kind of restore their health and be ready to battle the heat again during the middle of the next day. So the next thing we want to talk about is location. Here you can see some of the sprouts I've planted already. These were planted on July 1st. I've got some more I'm about to put in the ground. And the spot I chose for this location is covered by a nice tree canopy. And so it's not a terribly thick tree canopy. And during the hot heat of the day, it does allow mottled sunlight to come through. And we also have kind of some open space over to the side where sunlight is coming through as well. So these little guys are still getting their sunlight requirements, but they're protected from the hot, intense heat of the day. So if this is not an option for you, if you don't have a tree-lined area or a place that gets some shade, you might want to consider putting a tarp or a hoop or something to block the intense heat that happens from around 3 o'clock in the day, and that should really help make a difference keeping your pumpkins alive and healthy. The next thing we want to talk about is the care of the plant itself. So even though it is very hot outside and your pumpkins will need to be watered every day until they establish, which would be probably about 5 inches tall, this one's probably about 3 inches tall, so I'll let it get a little bit bigger before I start rolling back to watering it every other day, you still want to make sure that you water down at the base of the plant, because if you get a lot of water on the leaves, even if it's hot, it's still susceptible to fungus and mold. So water frequently, water daily while they're small, water down at the base of the leaves. The next thing you want to do is just keep a close eye on the health of the leaf. If it looks like the leaves are really struggling and you know that water is not an issue, you might want to consider adding a little bit of nitrogen. Nitrogen is going to help really boost the growth of the leaves. You just want to be careful that you water often if you do add nitrogen. Nitrogen can have a tendency to burn up the leaves in conjunction with the hot sun, so just be careful and cognizant that you're keeping it watered. Similarly, a pumpkin usually sets flowers about halfway through its lifespan. So if you're looking at a 90-day pumpkin, at a 45 to 50 days, that's when you should start seeing flowers. If it's still super hot outside and you're not seeing flowers, you need to add just a little bit of phosphorus to the soil. You can find that at the store in bone meal. Just work it into the soil, water often, and you should see results in about 2 weeks. You should see some flower buds starting to form. Well, those are my 3 tips for you: variety, location, and care. So I'll be posting an update soon, hopefully with some beautiful pumpkins, and I hope that this video was an inspiration to you to go ahead and give it a shot. I know it's kind of discouraging when it's super hot outside and it kind of seems like the sunlight fate is stacked against you, but you can do it with some care and attention and thought. You've totally got this. So best of luck. I'm excited to see your fall pumpkins. Let me know how it's going. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for your time.